What if I tell you that the reason your money affirmations feel like lies is not because you are failing or lacking in some mysterious way, but because your mind has been quietly trained for years to reject anything that doesn't fit the story it already knows? A story built from early experiences, cultural conditioning, and repeated messages about scarcity that have etched themselves so deeply into your subconscious that simply speaking words of abundance can feel like trying to convince someone of a dream while they are wide awake in a harsh, gray reality. And this is why when you say, "I am wealthy," or "money flows easily to me," there is a part of you that winces, doubts, and internally whispers that it's impossible, because belief is not something that can be forced. It is something that must be cultivated, nourished, and gently aligned with both your conscious intention and your emotional resonance. So even though you might diligently recite your affirmations every morning or night, they may fall flat if your emotions are not involved. And the gap between what you are saying and what you are truly feeling is often the reason why your affirmations feel hollow, unconvincing, or worse, deceitful to yourself. And as we explore this deeper, it becomes clear that recognizing this gap is not a failure, but a crucial first step toward bridging it. Because once you can see where your mind resists, you can begin to gently reprogram your beliefs in a way that feels believable, natural, and even exciting. And this process begins with self-awareness, the ability to watch your thoughts, and the courage to confront the stories you have unconsciously told yourself about money for decades. And as soon as you acknowledge that these stories are just stories and not immutable truths, you create a space in your mind where change can begin to take root, where affirmations can eventually feel like honest expressions rather than lies, and where the promise of financial abundance can become something you not only say but genuinely experience and embody, allowing each word to resonate with the kind of certainty that transforms your inner world, shifts your perception, and ultimately influences your outer reality. So understanding why affirmations feel false is not the end of the journey, but the doorway to a new approach, a method that involves aligning your emotions, rewriting your subconscious scripts, and learning to feel deserving of wealth in ways that are both subtle and profound. And as we move forward, you will see how this foundation sets the stage for transforming simple words into a living, breathing reality that flows seamlessly into your life, creating a momentum that feels inevitable rather than forced. And this is the first essential step toward making money affirmations not just statements, but truths that you can feel, trust, and act upon with every fiber of your being. Once you begin to understand that your mind resists affirmations because of the deeply ingrained stories it has carried for years, it becomes clear that the next step is to examine the role of your subconscious, the hidden engine behind every thought, emotion, and financial behavior. Because the conscious mind can recite all the affirmations in the world, but if the subconscious refuses to accept them, those words remain empty echoes, and this is where most people get stuck, tirelessly repeating phrases without realizing that their inner programming is operating on autopilot, replaying old fears, doubts, and limitations that have nothing to do with their current intentions. And the subconscious is not malicious. It is simply loyal, protecting you from what it perceives as risk. Yet this loyalty can become a prison when it continues to enforce outdated beliefs about money, success, and worthiness. Which is why you may find yourself sabotaging opportunities or dismissing positive signs even as you speak the words, "I am abundant," with your lips. And as you pay attention, you start noticing subtle cues: hesitation in making financial decisions, a gnawing anxiety when thinking about investments, or even small acts of self-denial that seem irrational, all of which are messages from the subconscious, signaling that alignment has not yet occurred. And acknowledging this is empowering rather than discouraging, because once the resistance is identified, it can be reshaped, gently reprogrammed, and gradually harmonized with your conscious desires. And the fascinating part is that the subconscious responds more to feelings, images, and experiences than to mere words, which is why visualization, emotional rehearsal, and anchoring affirmations to vivid sensations are so powerful, creating bridges between what you consciously intend and what your inner mind accepts as real. And as this alignment begins to take shape, Your affirmations no longer feel like lies, but small truths waiting to be expanded, emerging naturally from a sense of internal consistency. And the journey of rewiring the subconscious is a process of patience, observation, and creative engagement, where every moment of self-awareness becomes a tool to gradually dissolve resistance. And as the layers of old programming are peeled back, you start to notice a subtle shift in perception, a new openness to wealth, opportunities, and ideas, so that what once felt impossible now begins to feel plausible, believable, and eventually entirely natural. Which is why understanding the subconscious is not just a theory, but a practical, actionable insight that transforms affirmations from empty words into lived experience, setting the stage for the next revelation about how conflicting inner stories shape your relationship with money. As you start to recognize the influence of your subconscious, it becomes impossible to ignore how conflicting inner stories silently dictate the way you perceive and interact with money. Because on one hand, you may speak affirmations of abundance, yet on the other, there are hidden narratives inherited from family, society, or personal experiences that insist that wealth is scarce, fleeting, or reserved for others. And this clash creates an invisible tension, a tug-of-war between what you consciously desire and what your inner mind believes, which often manifests as hesitation, self-sabotage, or a sense that no matter what you try, financial growth remains just out of reach. And these conflicting stories are rarely obvious. They are whispered in doubts, excuses, and feelings of unworthiness, subtly shaping your actions in ways you don't even notice. So the challenge becomes not only identifying these stories, but understanding their origins, the moments when they first took root, and the emotional weight they carry. Because until they are acknowledged, they will continue to oppose your affirmations like invisible walls. And the fascinating truth is that the mind is not trying to harm you. It is attempting to keep you safe by holding on to what it knows, even if what it knows is limiting and outdated. And as you explore this, you realize that the tension between desire and belief is not a failure, but a signal, an opportunity to rewrite your inner narrative with conscious intention, replacing stories of scarcity with stories of possibility. And the key is not to fight these old tales aggressively, but to gently introduce new perspectives, supportive experiences, and affirmations that feel progressively believable. Because when the mind senses continuity, rather than contradiction, it begins to accept the new story, allowing abundance to feel possible instead of foreign. And this delicate dance between old and new, resistance and acceptance, forms the foundation for a deeper transformation, where your inner narrative begins to resonate with the life you are choosing to create, so that the words you speak about money gradually align with the beliefs that govern your subconscious, which is why understanding and reconciling these inner conflicts is essential for making affirmations feel authentic and effective, ultimately preparing you to confront the emotional resistance that has quietly sabotaged your financial confidence for years. As you begin to reconcile these conflicting inner stories, it becomes clear that emotional resistance is one of the most powerful forces keeping affirmations from feeling authentic. Because guilt, fear, and shame around money are not just abstract feelings. They are emotional memories encoded in your body and mind, quietly shaping the way you perceive abundance. And even the most positive statements can trigger discomfort if they contradict these emotions. So that every time you declare, "I am financially free," a subtle part of you may recoil, expecting failure, loss, or judgment. And this reaction is often rooted in experiences long before you understood their significance, such as watching someone struggle financially as a child, internalizing messages about unworthiness, or witnessing societal inequality that made wealth seem unattainable. And these emotional imprints act as invisible barriers, creating friction between what you consciously desire and what your subconscious is ready to accept. Yet recognizing the presence of this resistance is not discouraging. Rather, it is empowering, because awareness allows you to address it directly by exploring the sensations, triggers, and thought patterns associated with it. And as you do so, you start noticing moments when fear or shame subtly influence your decisions, making you hesitant to pursue opportunities or dismissive of financial possibilities. And this insight is a gateway to transformation, Because emotions, unlike facts, cannot be bypassed. They must be acknowledged, felt, and gently redirected, allowing new emotional experiences to overwrite old patterns, which is why techniques that combine affirmations with emotional engagement, such as journaling, visualization, or sensory immersion, become so effective, creating a sense of resonance between your mind, body, and the financial reality you are cultivating. And gradually, as these emotional layers soften, affirmations begin to feel less like lies and more like invitations to a new way of being. And this emotional alignment is critical for moving beyond intellectual understanding into lived belief, where your statements about wealth carry not only words but energy, conviction, and a natural sense of possibility, ultimately preparing you to explore how the principle of vibration connects your feelings, intentions, and financial reality in a seamless, almost magnetic way. Once you start to recognize how emotional resistance affects your ability to truly believe your affirmations, it becomes impossible to ignore the role of vibration. The subtle energetic frequency that aligns your thoughts, feelings, and intentions with the reality you experience. Because every emotion you feel, whether excitement, fear, joy, or anxiety, carries a distinct vibrational signature that either attracts or repels the outcomes you desire. And this is why affirmations alone often feel like empty words if your emotional state does not match the energy of abundance, as saying, "I am wealthy," while feeling tension, scarcity, or doubt creates a mismatch that your mind and body instantly detect, undermining the credibility of the statement and making it feel like a lie. Yet understanding vibration is liberating because it shifts the focus from forcing belief through repetition to cultivating the emotional and energetic resonance that naturally supports your intentions. And when you consciously nurture feelings of abundance, gratitude, and worthiness, your affirmations no longer need to fight against resistance. They flow effortlessly from a state of alignment, seamlessly reinforcing the reality you are calling into existence. And this principle explains why some people seem to attract wealth with ease, while others struggle despite diligent repetition of affirmations. Because it is not the words themselves that manifest change, but the frequency they carry and the inner consistency that accompanies them. And the fascinating part is that vibration is not abstract or mystical. It is a measurable, experiential reality that can be influenced by practices such as visualization, meditation, emotional rehearsal, and intentional focus on positive experiences, which progressively recalibrates your inner state to match the life you desire. And as this energetic alignment strengthens, your affirmations begin to feel truthful, empowering, and deeply resonant, no longer at odds with your inner reality, creating a natural bridge between thought, emotion, and manifestation. And the more consistently you maintain this alignment, the more effortless and believable your affirmations become, which sets the stage for understanding the importance of timing, environment, and habit in ensuring that your words and energy work together to create lasting financial transformation. As you begin to harness the power of vibration and emotional alignment, it becomes evident that timing plays a crucial role in how effectively affirmations embed themselves into your consciousness. Because reciting words at random moments without considering your mental and emotional state is like trying to plant seeds in frozen soil, where the potential for growth is limited until conditions are right. And this is why repeating affirmations while stressed, distracted, or emotionally depleted often yields little more than frustration and doubt, even if the words themselves are perfectly crafted. And the subtle truth is that the subconscious absorbs information most efficiently when your mind is receptive, calm, and engaged, which is why routines that align with natural rhythms, such as morning reflection, pre-sleep visualization, or quiet periods of contemplation, can dramatically increase the impact of your statements. And by pairing affirmations with deliberate attention and presence, you allow them to penetrate the layers of resistance that have built up over years, creating a sense of credibility and believability. Because timing is not just about choosing a convenient moment. It is about choosing a moment when your internal state resonates with the energy of abundance. And this awareness encourages you to observe your own patterns, noting when your mind is most open, when your emotions are receptive, and when your imagination can fully engage in the experience of wealth. And as you practice this, the act of speaking affirmations becomes less mechanical and more like a natural conversation with your inner self, one that reinforces alignment rather than challenging it. And the compounding effect of consistent, well-timed practice is that your subconscious begins to accept new beliefs as familiar, gradually replacing old narratives of limitation. And over time, you notice a shift not only in your perception of money, but also in your behavior, choices, and opportunities. Because alignment creates a feedback loop where internal belief translates into external action, which in turn reinforces internal belief. And this is why understanding the importance of timing, environment, and context transforms affirmations from hollow words into a living, dynamic tool for creating financial reality, seamlessly preparing you to explore the next layer, the power of specificity and clarity in the statements you make about money. Once you understand that timing and emotional receptivity influence the effectiveness of affirmations, it becomes clear that specificity is equally essential, because vague statements like "I am rich" or "money comes easily to me" often fail to resonate with your subconscious, which craves concrete images, measurable outcomes, and believable details that create a sense of reality rather than abstraction. And this is why affirmations that are precise, emotionally vivid, and grounded in your personal experience carry far more weight, as they give your mind something tangible to anchor onto, transforming mere words into a mental rehearsal of a life already lived. And the mind, craving consistency and clarity, responds to these specifics with acceptance rather than skepticism, gradually dissolving the friction between desire and belief. And when you describe exactly what abundance looks like, how it feels, and the impact it has on your daily life, your inner world begins to mirror the external reality you are aiming to create, reinforcing alignment on both conscious and subconscious levels. Yet the process requires attention to detail and honesty, because overly ambitious or disconnected affirmations can backfire, reminding the mind of the gap between imagination and lived experience. And this is why starting with statements that are plausible, achievable, and emotionally resonant is critical, as they build momentum and credibility within your inner world, creating a foundation for progressively larger expressions of abundance. And by incorporating sensory details, personal milestones, and real-life scenarios, you give your subconscious mind a blueprint it can follow, making belief feel natural rather than forced. And as this specificity strengthens, your affirmations evolve from abstract hopes into compelling narratives that feel alive, urgent, and entirely believable, naturally leading into the necessity of embodying the feeling behind the words. Because it is not enough to recite statements, you must inhabit them fully for transformation to occur, bridging the gap between thought, emotion, and tangible experience. As you begin to craft affirmations with clarity and specificity, it becomes impossible to ignore the importance of truly feeling the words you speak, because the difference between reciting statements mechanically and embodying their meaning is the difference between a fleeting wish and a lived reality. And when you only speak words without generating the corresponding emotional state, your subconscious senses the dissonance, rejecting the statements as inconsistent with what it already knows, which is why so many affirmations feel hollow or unconvincing. Yet when you consciously cultivate the feeling behind the words, the excitement, relief, joy, and security of financial abundance, you bridge the gap between intention and experience, allowing your affirmations to resonate authentically within your entire being. And this emotional rehearsal works like a rehearsal for reality itself, preparing your mind and body to accept wealth as normal rather than exceptional. And the fascinating aspect of this practice is that emotions carry far more weight than logic, meaning that feeling wealthy, even briefly, has a greater impact than intellectual acknowledgement alone. And as you consistently pair words with genuine feelings, the subconscious begins to rewrite its own rules, slowly replacing limiting beliefs with patterns that support abundance. And this integration of thought and feeling amplifies the credibility of your affirmations, creating a feedback loop where internal belief influences external opportunities, which in turn reinforces the internal belief. And over time, this process makes your affirmations feel less like forced statements and more like natural expressions of who you are becoming. And the more you practice inhabiting the emotion of abundance, the more effortless and convincing your affirmations become, seamlessly preparing you to confront the deeper layers of past financial trauma, because unresolved experiences from childhood or early adulthood often continue to subtly undermine belief. And once you recognize that feeling the affirmation is as important as stating it, you unlock the door to the next level of transformation, where old memories can be addressed, healed, and integrated into a coherent, empowering narrative that fully supports your financial evolution. As you begin to fully inhabit the feeling of your affirmations, it becomes impossible to ignore the subtle influence of past financial trauma, because experiences from childhood, adolescence, or early adulthood often embed themselves so deeply into your subconscious that they quietly shape your beliefs, emotions, and behaviors around money without your conscious awareness. And these memories, whether witnessing scarcity, experiencing rejection, or absorbing fearful messages about wealth, create patterns that resist change even when your conscious mind desires abundance, so that despite your best efforts, affirmations may still feel hollow or unconvincing. And understanding this is essential, because recognizing the origin of your resistance is the first step toward dissolving it, as every unresolved experience carries an emotional imprint that can be acknowledged, reframed, and released. And the fascinating part is that the subconscious does not distinguish between past and present, treating old fears as immediate threats, which is why small financial setbacks can trigger disproportionate anxiety, hesitation, or self-doubt. Yet by consciously revisiting these memories, gently reframing them, and pairing them with empowering affirmations and emotional exercises, you begin to neutralize their hold, gradually transforming limiting beliefs into supportive scripts. And this process is not instantaneous. It requires patience, awareness, and consistent practice. But every moment you spend consciously addressing these past imprints weakens their influence, allowing affirmations to gain credibility and emotional resonance. And as you integrate these experiences, your internal narrative begins to shift from one of limitation to one of possibility, naturally paving the way for discovering language that truly resonates with your evolving identity. Because choosing words that feel authentic and aligned is the next crucial step in making affirmations feel believable, empowering, and entirely congruent with your personal journey. As you begin to heal past financial traumas, it becomes clear that the language you use in your affirmations is critical, because words carry subtle vibrations and emotional weight that either reinforce or contradict the beliefs you are trying to cultivate. And if the phrasing of your statements feels alien, forced, or disconnected from your sense of self, the subconscious immediately detects the mismatch and resists, making the affirmation feel untrue, hollow, or even frustrating. And this is why the careful selection of words that resonate deeply with your personal experiences, desires, and values is essential, because authenticity in language allows your mind to accept the statements as credible and believable rather than foreign concepts to be rejected. And the fascinating part is that even minor shifts in wording, tone, or tense can dramatically change the impact of an affirmation, aligning it with your inner reality in a way that feels natural and inviting rather than confrontational or unrealistic. And as you experiment with different phrases, noticing how your body, mind, and emotions respond, you begin to intuitively identify statements that carry genuine resonance, creating a bridge between conscious intention and subconscious acceptance. And this process of linguistic fine-tuning is not trivial. It is a core element in transforming affirmations from empty repetitions into potent tools of personal transformation. And as your language becomes more congruent with your inner state, affirmations start to flow effortlessly, feeling like authentic expressions of who you are and who you are becoming. And this alignment naturally reinforces the emotional resonance, creating a feedback loop where words, feelings, and subconscious belief support and amplify each other, gradually dissolving skepticism, hesitation, and doubt, and ultimately allowing your affirmations to take root in your inner world with clarity, conviction, and power, seamlessly preparing you to explore the next essential step: gradually aligning your beliefs with statements that feel immediately believable, creating momentum and credibility within your mind and energy that supports lasting financial transformation. Once you have refined your language to match your inner truth, the next step is to understand the power of gradual alignment, because attempting to leap from disbelief to full conviction too quickly often backfires, making affirmations feel impossible, artificial, or even laughable. And the subconscious resists sudden, dramatic shifts, preferring incremental, believable steps that create momentum over time. So instead of declaring extreme statements like, "I am a billionaire," when your current reality feels far from that, starting with smaller, plausible affirmations that are emotionally credible lays the groundwork for larger transformations. And the genius of this approach is that each believable affirmation acts as a stepping stone, building confidence, trust, and consistency within your inner world, gradually expanding the range of what feels possible. And as you repeatedly practice statements that are both truthful and aspirational, the subconscious begins to accept new narratives as normal, replacing old limitations with supportive beliefs. And this process works because it honors the natural pace of the mind, creating internal cohesion rather than resistance. And as small affirmations gain traction, you can progressively introduce bolder statements, each one flowing from the credibility established by the previous, which accelerates the feeling of alignment and certainty. And the momentum created by this gradual approach is both psychological and energetic, harmonizing thought, emotion, and vibration. And over time, affirmations that once felt implausible begin to feel natural, empowering, and entirely believable, seamlessly reinforcing your evolving financial identity. And this strategy not only strengthens belief, but also reduces emotional friction, making it easier to inhabit the feeling of abundance, which in turn prepares you to integrate visualization techniques and mental imagery. Because pairing specific feelings with vivid images further accelerates alignment and embeds new beliefs deeply into the subconscious, creating a fertile inner environment where affirmations no longer feel like lies, but like living truths, waiting to manifest in your external reality. As you begin to implement gradual alignment, it becomes clear that visualization is one of the most powerful tools for bridging the gap between words and belief, because when you pair affirmations with vivid mental imagery, you are essentially rehearsing the experience of abundance in a way that the subconscious can accept as real. And the mind does not distinguish between real and imagined experiences when emotions are involved, which is why visualizing yourself handling money with ease, enjoying financial freedom, or making empowered decisions creates neural pathways that reinforce your statements, making them feel credible and attainable. And this practice also engages your senses, allowing you to see, hear, and even feel the reality you desire, amplifying the emotional resonance of your affirmations. And as you consistently integrate visualization into your routine, the subconscious begins to adapt, accepting these imagined experiences as evidence that supports the new narrative, gradually dissolving old resistance and skepticism. And the fascinating aspect is that even brief, focused sessions can have a profound impact, especially when repeated over time with emotional intensity and clarity, because the combination of words, feelings, and imagery creates a multi-dimensional impression that firmly anchors your beliefs, making affirmations feel natural and effortless rather than forced or hollow. And as this integration deepens, your internal world begins to mirror the life you are visualizing, generating opportunities, insights, and actions that align with abundance. And the momentum created by this mental rehearsal naturally reinforces your daily statements, strengthening conviction, consistency, and belief. And the more detailed and emotionally charged your visualizations, the more your mind internalizes the reality you are creating, which in turn makes the process of manifestation smoother, faster, and more believable, seamlessly preparing you to understand why aligned action must accompany affirmations. Because mental rehearsal alone is powerful, but tangible steps amplify and validate the new beliefs, ensuring that your words, feelings, and behavior all coalesce to support the financial reality you are calling into being. As you immerse yourself in visualization and emotional rehearsal, it becomes evident that affirmations alone, while powerful, are not sufficient without aligned action, because thoughts and feelings create the internal conditions for abundance. But the outer world responds to both belief and behavior. And when your actions contradict your affirmations, the subconscious quickly detects the inconsistency, undermining the credibility of your statements and slowing transformation, which is why integrating tangible steps that reflect the reality you are cultivating is essential. Whether it's taking opportunities, managing finances responsibly, or making choices that demonstrate confidence in abundance. And the fascinating part is that these aligned actions do not have to be grand or dramatic. They simply need to reflect the mindset of someone who already embodies financial freedom, reinforcing the emotional and mental resonance of your affirmations. And as you begin to act in alignment, your internal narrative and external reality begin to converge, creating a feedback loop that strengthens both belief and behavior. And the beauty of this process is that small, consistent steps gradually accumulate, producing noticeable shifts in confidence, perception, and opportunity, which further validates the affirmations and makes them feel increasingly authentic. And over time, the gap between saying, "I am abundant," and living as if you are abundant disappears, because your actions provide tangible proof to your mind that the statements are credible. And as you continue this alignment, you notice subtle shifts in decision-making, intuition, and opportunities, as your inner state magnetically attracts circumstances that mirror your beliefs. And this synergy between thought, feeling, and action not only accelerates the manifestation of wealth, but also strengthens the sense of personal empowerment, naturally preparing you to examine how your environment and daily rituals can either support or undermine this alignment, because context plays a pivotal role in embedding affirmations into lived experience. And understanding this interplay is the next crucial step in making affirmations feel entirely believable and effortless. As you recognize the importance of aligned action, it becomes clear that your environment and daily rituals play an equally vital role in reinforcing your affirmations, because the spaces you inhabit, the people you interact with, and the habits you maintain all communicate subtle messages to your subconscious about what is possible and what is normal. And even the most powerful affirmations can be undermined if your surroundings consistently signal scarcity, limitation, or doubt, which is why cultivating a supportive environment is essential. Whether it's organizing your space to reflect abundance, surrounding yourself with people who encourage growth, or developing daily routines that reinforce your new beliefs. And the fascinating truth is that these external cues can accelerate the internalization of affirmations by providing constant, tangible evidence that abundance is attainable. And as you consciously curate your environment, you notice that habits such as mindful spending, regular reflection, or celebrating small wins create repeated reinforcement of your desired financial narrative, strengthening the connection between thought, feeling, and reality. And the cumulative effect of these rituals is profound, because repetition, consistency, and environmental alignment communicate to the subconscious that your new beliefs are credible, acceptable, and achievable. And over time, this creates a seamless integration where your surroundings, routines, and inner narrative all support each other, making affirmations feel natural, effortless, and deeply believable. And the more you refine your environment, the more subtle cues align with the mindset you are cultivating, producing a pervasive sense of possibility, momentum, and confidence. And this holistic approach demonstrates that manifestation is not just about words, emotions, or thoughts in isolation, but about the complete alignment of internal state, external context, and consistent practice, which naturally prepares you to tackle the next crucial step: rewriting subconscious scripts that have been unconsciously guiding your financial behaviors. Because until these deeper patterns are addressed, even the most supportive environment and consistent action may encounter subtle resistance from ingrained belief systems. Once your environment, habits, and daily rituals are aligned with your desired financial reality, it becomes essential to address the deeper layers of your subconscious by rewriting the scripts that have unconsciously guided your behaviors. Because these ingrained patterns, formed over years of experiences and reinforced by repeated thoughts and emotions, often operate silently, subtly shaping decisions, reactions, and perceptions in ways that contradict your conscious intentions. And even when your affirmations, feelings, and actions are aligned, these old scripts can create invisible friction, causing hesitation, self-sabotage, or lingering doubt, which is why bringing them to light is such a transformative process, as awareness alone begins to loosen their grip. And as you identify these limiting narratives, you can consciously craft new stories that reflect possibility, abundance, and empowerment, embedding them with the same emotional intensity and specificity you use in your affirmations. And the fascinating truth is that the subconscious responds not to mere repetition of words, but to immersive experiences, emotional conviction, and consistent reinforcement, which is why pairing rewritten scripts with aligned action, visualization, and daily rituals accelerates acceptance and integration. And as these new scripts take hold, your internal dialogue shifts from resistance to support, gradually replacing fear, doubt, or scarcity with confidence, clarity, and anticipation of abundance. And the cumulative effect is that affirmations begin to feel increasingly authentic because they are no longer opposed by unexamined beliefs, but harmonized with your inner reality. And as this transformation deepens, you notice subtle changes in perception, intuition, and decision-making, creating a sense of effortless alignment that extends beyond affirmations into every area of financial engagement. And the power of this process lies in its subtlety, because true change occurs quietly, beneath the surface, until your entire internal landscape reflects the life you are consciously choosing, naturally preparing you to incorporate gratitude into your practice. As appreciation strengthens belief, reinforces alignment, and amplifies the resonance of every affirmation you make. As your subconscious scripts begin to shift, it becomes clear that gratitude plays a pivotal role in making your affirmations feel authentic and powerful. Because appreciation creates an emotional resonance that signals to your mind and body that abundance is already present, which bridges the gap between current reality and desired outcomes. And when you consistently focus on what you already have, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, you cultivate a mindset that naturally attracts more, reinforcing the credibility of your affirmations. And the fascinating part is that gratitude works not just as a feeling, but as a vibrational signal that aligns your thoughts, emotions, and energy with abundance, enhancing the internal coherence that makes affirmations believable. And when combined with visualization, emotional engagement, and aligned action, appreciation becomes a multiplier, amplifying the impact of every statement you make. And as you consciously notice and celebrate daily manifestations of abundance, your subconscious begins to perceive wealth as normal and achievable, gradually dissolving resistance, skepticism, and limiting beliefs. And this practice also strengthens emotional intelligence, helping you recognize subtle shifts in perception, intuition, and opportunity that signal alignment. And over time, gratitude becomes more than a practice. It becomes a state of being, a lens through which you interpret every experience, reinforcing the belief that you are worthy of financial success. And this pervasive sense of appreciation naturally makes affirmations feel truthful, effortless, and deeply resonant, creating a feedback loop where feeling abundant validates statements, which in turn strengthens belief, encourages aligned action, and attracts tangible opportunities. And the more consistently you integrate gratitude into your routine, the more effortless it becomes to inhabit the reality of your affirmations, which seamlessly prepares you to explore the next step, anchoring affirmations in real, verifiable experiences that solidify their truth and accelerate the manifestation of financial abundance. As gratitude becomes a natural part of your inner experience, the next step is to anchor your affirmations in reality by connecting them to small, tangible wins. Because when the mind perceives evidence that supports your statements, affirmations begin to feel credible, believable, and undeniably real. And this process transforms abstract ideas into lived experience, bridging the gap between thought and reality. And as you notice, even minor achievements, whether a financial opportunity seized, an unexpected gift, or a successful decision, the subconscious interprets these moments as proof that abundance is attainable, reinforcing the statements you make daily. And the fascinating aspect is that anchoring creates momentum, because each small success validates the belief system you are cultivating, making it progressively easier to accept larger, more ambitious affirmations. And by consistently acknowledging these wins, you train your mind to focus on evidence of abundance rather than scarcity, gradually rewiring your internal narrative to align with wealth and possibility. And this reinforcement strengthens both emotional resonance and vibrational alignment, ensuring that your affirmations feel authentic, supported, and powerful. And as the practice deepens, you notice subtle shifts in perception, confidence, and decision-making, as your inner state and external experiences synchronize, creating a seamless feedback loop between belief, action, and outcome. And over time, your reality begins to mirror the affirmations you speak, not as wishful thinking, but as lived truth. And this approach not only solidifies credibility, but also enhances your ability to trust yourself, your intuition, and the natural flow of abundance, creating an empowered mindset that attracts opportunities, amplifies growth, and prepares the foundation for emotional rehearsal. The next crucial step, where feeling the experience of wealth becomes an immersive, transformative practice that accelerates alignment and manifestation in ways that are both profound and undeniable. As you anchor your affirmations in real experiences, it becomes increasingly clear that emotional rehearsal is the bridge that turns words into lived reality. Because repeatedly imagining, feeling, and experiencing the sensations of financial freedom trains your subconscious to accept abundance as normal. And when these rehearsals are carried out with consistency, intensity, and vivid detail, the mind begins to internalize the experience, eliminating resistance and skepticism that previously made affirmations feel false. And the fascinating truth is that the subconscious cannot distinguish between real and vividly imagined experiences, which means that immersing yourself in the emotions of wealth, security, and opportunity creates a template for reality that the mind gradually manifests externally. And as you practice this, you start noticing subtle shifts in behavior, decision-making, and perception, because your internal state begins to dictate your external choices in alignment with abundance. And over time, even brief periods of emotional rehearsal accumulate into powerful belief patterns that support financial growth, making affirmations feel increasingly authentic, compelling, and deeply resonant. And the more you engage in this process, the more effortless it becomes to inhabit the emotional reality of wealth without forcing it. Because the mind begins to recognize the experience as familiar, desirable, and achievable. And this integration of feeling, visualization, and aligned action creates a powerful feedback loop, where internal belief and external reality reinforce each other, accelerating manifestation. And the subtle yet profound effect is that you begin to approach money, opportunities, and challenges with a confident, relaxed, and empowered mindset, which naturally sets the stage for understanding affirmation fatigue, a crucial concept, because even the most carefully constructed practices can backfire if overdone, misaligned, or disconnected from the inner state. And recognizing this allows you to maintain balance while continuing to deepen alignment and internalize abundance as a permanent reality. As you master emotional rehearsal and integrate visualization with aligned action, it becomes essential to be aware of affirmation fatigue, because even the most carefully designed practices can lose effectiveness if overused, misaligned, or disconnected from your true emotional state. And when affirmations are repeated mechanically without feeling, the subconscious begins to recognize the dissonance, reducing credibility and causing statements to feel increasingly hollow, frustrating, or even discouraging. And the fascinating aspect is that the mind responds best to quality over quantity, valuing depth, authenticity, and resonance more than sheer repetition. So moments of fatigue signal a need to pause, recalibrate, and reconnect with genuine emotion, belief, and clarity. And this awareness allows you to structure practices that maintain intensity without causing resistance, ensuring that each affirmation, visualization, or emotional rehearsal carries full impact. And as you honor this balance, the subconscious perceives the statements as deliberate, believable, and aligned, reinforcing trust and credibility. And the process becomes a refined art of pacing, observation, and integration, where moments of reflection, appreciation, and emotional engagement enhance rather than detract from transformation. And over time, The awareness of affirmation fatigue becomes a tool for optimization, helping you select the most effective timing, wording, and emotional intensity, which accelerates alignment, strengthens resonance, and ensures that your affirmations consistently feel truthful, empowering, and deeply compelling. And as this understanding deepens, you notice a natural rhythm emerging in your practice, where statements, feelings, and actions flow together effortlessly, creating a sense of momentum, ease, and inevitability, which ultimately leads to long-term transformation, seamlessly preparing you to embrace patience and persistence, the next crucial step, because lasting change occurs gradually, quietly, and consistently over time. Even as your internal landscape evolves to fully support the abundant reality you are consciously creating. As you become aware of affirmation fatigue and learn to pace your practice, it becomes clear that long-term transformation requires patience and persistence, because lasting change is rarely instant, and the subconscious needs time, repetition, and consistent reinforcement to fully accept new beliefs. And even when alignment, visualization, emotional rehearsal, and action are perfectly orchestrated, results accumulate gradually, often in ways that are subtle, almost imperceptible at first. Yet over time, these shifts create profound, lasting effects that completely reshape your financial reality. And the fascinating truth is that persistence is not simply about enduring repetition, but about maintaining focus, emotional resonance, and intentionality, while consistently refining your internal state and external habits. And as you continue to engage in deliberate, patient practice, your affirmations evolve from statements that once felt like lies into reflections of your lived experience, seamlessly blending with your perceptions, decisions, and behaviors. And the momentum created by sustained practice amplifies belief, accelerates manifestation, and strengthens both confidence and clarity. And the journey itself becomes a teacher, revealing subtle insights, patterns, and opportunities that reinforce the credibility of your affirmations. And as you embrace this process, you notice an increasing sense of trust in yourself, your intuition, and the natural flow of abundance. And this trust fosters resilience, creativity, and openness to possibility, allowing every action, thought, and feeling to contribute to the reality you are creating. And the beauty of long-term persistence is that it gradually dissolves resistance, fear, and skepticism, making affirmations feel effortless, truthful, and fully integrated into your life. And as this transformation solidifies, you understand that the journey itself is part of the manifestation, where each deliberate step, emotional rehearsal, and aligned choice contributes to a coherent, abundant inner and outer reality, naturally preparing you to explore the final step, which is fully embodying your new identity. Because once your internal world consistently matches your desired reality, affirmations cease to be statements at all, and instead become a reflection of who you truly are, living, breathing, and acting in alignment with the abundance you have consciously chosen. As you embrace patience and persistence, the final step is to fully embody your new identity. Because when your internal world, emotions, thoughts, and actions are completely aligned with the reality you desire, affirmations no longer exist as separate statements, but become reflections of who you truly are. And this embodiment is the ultimate transformation, where wealth, abundance, and possibility are not merely concepts to be spoken, but lived experiences that inform every decision, behavior, and interaction. And the fascinating part is that the more consistently you inhabit this identity, the more effortless and natural it becomes to maintain alignment, as every action, thought, and feeling flows harmoniously with your chosen reality. And over time, your subconscious no longer distinguishes between imagined, spoken, or enacted abundance, because the experience has become seamless, integrated, and undeniable. And this deep alignment transforms not only your financial reality, but also your sense of self, confidence, and perception of what is possible, creating a magnetic effect that attracts opportunities, resources, and people that resonate with your new identity. And the journey itself, from recognizing resistance to rewriting scripts, integrating emotion, visualizing vividly, acting in alignment, and practicing patience, culminates in a life where affirmations feel natural, truthful, and effortless, reinforcing the belief that abundance is your birthright. And as you inhabit this identity fully, you notice subtle yet profound shifts in intuition, decision-making, and perception, allowing you to navigate challenges with ease and clarity. And the beauty of embodiment is that it transforms the act of affirming into a continuous state of being, where every moment reflects the reality you have consciously created. And the deeper you live this identity, the less you rely on spoken statements, because your inner world, outer actions, and external experiences are perfectly harmonized. And this seamless integration is the final stage of transformation, where affirmations cease to feel like words and instead become a living, breathing truth, naturally preparing you to thrive in a life of financial freedom, empowered choice, and limitless possibility, fully aligned with the identity you have consciously claimed and continuously nurtured. And as you reflect on this entire journey, from recognizing why affirmations felt like lies, to uncovering subconscious resistance, aligning emotions, refining language, visualizing vividly, taking aligned action, cultivating supportive environments, healing past financial traumas, integrating gratitude, anchoring successes, practicing patience, and finally fully embodying your new identity, it becomes clear that transformation is not a single event, but a dynamic process of conscious evolution. And the power of affirmations lies not merely in the words themselves, but in the alignment of thought, feeling, behavior, and environment. Because when all these elements converge, your internal world communicates clearly to the subconscious that abundance is possible, achievable, and inevitable. And this creates a ripple effect that touches every aspect of life, from financial decisions to personal confidence, relationships, and opportunities. And the beauty of this process is that it honors the natural pace of growth, blending awareness, practice, and emotional resonance in a way that feels organic and sustainable. And as you continue to live in alignment, affirmations cease to be tools and instead become a reflection of the reality you embody, seamlessly integrated into the fabric of your daily experience. And the profound truth is that the journey itself teaches patience, self-awareness, and resilience, showing that every small step, moment of reflection, and act of alignment compounds over time to create powerful, lasting change. And by consistently nurturing this integration, you build a life where abundance, possibility, and empowerment are not occasional experiences, but the natural state of being. And the lessons learned from this process extend beyond financial growth, transforming mindset, confidence, and the perception of what is achievable. And ultimately, you realize that the real magic of affirmations is not in reciting words, but in becoming the person who naturally lives them, fully aligned in thought, emotion, and action. And as this alignment solidifies, you step into a life of clarity, freedom, and abundance that feels inevitable, authentic, and deeply fulfilling, leaving no room for doubt, resistance, or the old stories that once made affirmations feel like lies. And the most powerful outcome is the realization that your reality has always been shaped by your beliefs. And now, with conscious alignment, it reflects the truth you have chosen, creating a life that is entirely yours to experience, enjoy, and expand, where affirmations are no longer statements of desire but the living embodiment of the abundant, empowered identity you have cultivated with intention, insight, and unwavering persistence.